Most people don't realize they've already lost the day within the first 5 minutes of waking up. The alarm rings. Your hand reaches out almost automatically. Snooze. Then again and again. Eventually, you grab your phone, telling yourself you'll just check one notification. But 20 minutes later, you're deep inside emails, messages, headlines, and other people's priorities. By the time you finally get out of bed, your brain already feels crowded, heavy, slightly behind. And that quiet stress follows you all day. But here's the interesting part. It's not because you lack discipline. It's not because you're lazy. And it's definitely not because you just need more motivation. It's because your brain is running a biological script you were never taught to control. Listen closely, because once you understand this, your mornings will never feel the same again. The big idea, your brain is programmable in the first hour. Your brain experiences a powerful neurological window during the first hour after waking. Cortisol naturally spikes to help you become alert. Dopamine receptors are highly sensitive. Adenosine, the chemical that creates sleep pressure, has finally cleared. In simple terms, your brain is at its most programmable state of the entire day. Researchers at Stanford have often described morning neurochemistry as a neural reset. What you do in this window doesn't just influence your mood, it calibrates your focus, energy, and emotional stability for hours. Yet most people unknowingly flood this sensitive brain state with stress, comparison, and artificial dopamine from their phones. And then they wonder why they feel scattered by noon. The perfect morning isn't about waking at 5 a.m. or becoming a productivity robot. It's about protecting that neurological opening and using it to level up your life without forcing anything. Because when your morning changes, your identity quietly begins to change with it. And this is where everything changes. Habit 1, stop negotiating with your alarm. The first habit is simpler than it sounds, yet almost nobody does it correctly. Stop negotiating with your alarm. The moment you wake up and start bargaining for 5 more minutes, you teach your brain hesitation. You reinforce a micro pattern of delay before the day has even begun. But here's what most people don't know. Each time you hit snooze, your brain starts a brand new sleep cycle, but gets violently interrupted minutes later. This confuses your sleep chemistry and creates something called sleep inertia, that foggy, heavy feeling that can last for hours. High performers don't win their mornings through intensity. They win through decisiveness. When the alarm rings, sit up immediately. Not aggressively, not dramatically, just decisively. That single action sends a subconscious signal. When it's time to move, I move. Ignore this habit, and your days will often feel reactive. Master it, and you quietly become someone who acts instead of postpones. Habit 2, the natural antidepressant, morning sunlight. Now here's where it gets fascinating. The second habit might be the closest thing we have to a natural antidepressant. Step into sunlight within the first 10 minutes of waking. Not through a window, not filtered through glass. Real outdoor light. Even on cloudy days, natural light is dramatically brighter than indoor lighting. When it hits specialized receptors in your eyes, it tells your brain one crucial message. The day has begun. This triggers a cascade. Cortisol rises in a healthy way, boosting alertness. Melatonin shuts down at the right speed, preventing grogginess later. Dopamine begins increasing gradually, supporting stable motivation rather than frantic energy spikes. But here's the interesting part. Morning sunlight also starts a timer for better sleep 12 to 16 hours later. So when people say they just can't fall asleep, the problem often began that very morning. Ignore sunlight, and your circadian rhythm drifts like a compass without north. Get it daily, and your brain starts operating on a rhythm that feels almost effortless. You don't fight the day anymore. You flow with it. Habit 3, protect your attention before the world steals it. Now let's talk about the habit that silently determines whether you feel calm or chaotic before breakfast. Do not touch your phone for the first 30 minutes. Yes, 30. Listen closely. When you open social media or email immediately after waking, you overload your brain with unpredictable rewards. Notifications, headlines, messages. Each one triggers tiny dopamine spikes. At first, this feels stimulating, but the brain adapts quickly. Soon, normal tasks like focusing on work or reading feel painfully dull by comparison. This is why so many people feel restless before the day even begins. Protecting your morning attention is like protecting fresh snow. Once too many footprints appear, you can't make it untouched again. Instead of reaching outward, spend those first minutes turning inward. Breathe slowly, stretch, drink water. Let your thoughts arrive naturally. It may feel unfamiliar at first, almost too quiet, but that quiet is where mental clarity lives. And once you experience a morning without digital noise, going back starts to feel uncomfortable. Habit 4, activate your brain through movement. Now, here is a habit that separates people who merely wake up from people who actually activate their brain. Move your body even briefly. This doesn't mean you need an intense workout before sunrise. In fact, forcing extreme effort can sometimes spike cortisol too aggressively. What your brain really wants is circulation. A short walk, gentle mobility, a few push-ups, light yoga, anything that increases blood flow. Because movement does something remarkable. It tells your nervous system you are not under threat. When the body moves voluntarily, the brain interprets safety. Serotonin begins stabilizing mood. Dopamine rises in a controlled way. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, often called fertilizer for neurons, starts increasing, helping your brain learn faster and think clearer. But here's the interesting part. People often wait until they feel like exercising. Energy doesn't arrive before movement. Energy is created by movement. Skip this, and your brain stays in low power mode longer than necessary. Do it consistently, and you begin the day already ahead of your own biology. Habit 5, decide who you are before the world does. Now let's shift into a habit that is less physical, but deeply transformative. Create 5 minutes of intentional mental direction. Before the world tells you who to be, decide who you are today. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending everything is perfect. It's about cognitive priming. Your brain is constantly scanning reality for evidence that matches your dominant thoughts. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as attentional bias. If your first thoughts are stress-driven, your brain becomes a problem-detecting machine. But if you consciously choose a direction calm, focused, capable, your perception subtly reorganizes around that identity. Try something simple. Ask yourself one question. What would make today feel like a win? Not 10 things. 1. Suddenly, the day has shape, meaning, orientation. Ignore this step, and days blur together reactively. Use it, and your life starts feeling self-directed. Habit 6, stop rushing your morning. And this is where many people unknowingly sabotage their momentum. They rush their mornings. But the brain hates rushing. When you sprint from bed into urgency, your nervous system stays slightly elevated, as if something is chasing you. Instead, create what neuroscientists sometimes describe as a controlled entry into wakefulness. Slow your first actions by just 10%. Walk a little slower. Sip instead of gulp. Breathe fully between tasks. This tiny deceleration signals safety to the brainstem, preventing unnecessary stress chemistry. Ironically, people who stop rushing often become far more productive because calm focus outperforms frantic speed every time. Habit 7, eat for stable energy, not emotional crashes. Now listen closely, because the next shift is subtle but powerful. Eat in a way that stabilizes your brain, not sabotages it. When breakfast is overloaded with sugar and refined carbs, blood glucose rises fast and crashes just as quickly. That crash is what many people misinterpret as mid-morning exhaustion. Instead, prioritize protein, fiber, and healthy fats when possible. This slows digestion, creating a steady release of energy that your brain loves. But here's the interesting part. Stable blood sugar doesn't just influence energy. It directly impacts emotional regulation. Ever noticed how everything feels slightly more irritating when you're hungry? That's not personality. That's neurochemistry. Fuel your brain wisely, and patience becomes easier, Focus becomes natural. The elite morning edge, what top performers do differently. Now we arrive at a level most people never reach, the advanced morning behaviors quietly practiced by top performers. First, they design frictionless mornings the night before. Decision fatigue is real. Every tiny choice drains cognitive resources. So they remove unnecessary decisions ahead of time. Clothes ready, workspace clean, priorities identified. Morning then becomes execution, not negotiation. Second, they avoid starting the day with shallow work. Checking minor tasks first trains the brain toward reactivity. Instead, they protect their peak mental hours for meaningful progress. Even 30 minutes of deep focus can create psychological momentum that lasts all day. This is where everything changes, because progress generates dopamine far more sustainably than scrolling ever could. Third, elite performers learn to enjoy solitude in the morning, not loneliness, solitude. Those quiet minutes become a meeting with their own mind. Creativity surfaces, insights connect, emotional noise settles. In a world addicted to constant stimulation, the ability to be alone with your thoughts becomes a competitive advantage. Fourth, they anchor their mornings to identity rather than outcomes. Instead of asking, what do I have to do today? They ask, who am I becoming? That question shifts behavior automatically. Because when actions match identity, discipline feels less like force and more like alignment. The mindset shift, win the first hour, win your life. So let's step back and see the deeper truth. The perfect morning is not about perfection. It's about trajectory. Every morning is a psychological vote for the person you are becoming. Hit snooze repeatedly, and you vote for hesitation. Reach for your phone instantly, and you vote for distraction. Move your body, seek light, protect your attention, and choose your direction, and you vote for clarity. Your life is not shaped in dramatic breakthroughs. It is shaped in ordinary mornings that most people underestimate. So tomorrow, don't aim for a cinematic transformation. Just win the first hour. Make it calmer, brighter, more intentional than yesterday. Because once you prove to your brain that change is possible at 7 a.m., it starts believing change is possible everywhere else too. Outrow, protect the first hour. And here's something worth remembering. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your morning systems. If this shifted how you see your mornings, take a second to subscribe and join this community, because the next video is going to show you the nighttime habits that secretly determine whether your brain wakes up powerful or already exhausted. Until then, sleep well, wake decisively, and protect the first hour like your future depends on it. Because quietly, it does.